We took a bunch of track cars to try to go street racing.
Well, I'll tell you, it changed my life, and it will change yours for sure. I say that all the time. I want to welcome everybody that's out there to Drag and Drive show presented by our friends at Summit Racing. Can't thank them enough for coming on board to do this and the news, the Drag and Drive news on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern. And podcasts are coming. My name is Michael Narks. I run dragandrive.com and the Drag and Drive Addiction brand and Facebook page, Facebook group, I guess. We have social media everywhere under drag-in-drive. Eric White is my co-host. Eric, tell them about yourself, sir.
I am Eric White. I run 815 LSX Swaps and Motorsports Paparazzi.
I want to start the show off by saying congratulations to our friends at Sweet Patina, race car friends over there. Guys, you can now buy their products at summitracing.com. We do have some guests on tonight. We'll talk about them first. We have Jared Holt on with King of the Open Road Drag and Drive events. Dude, let's bring Jared on here. Jared,
Hey,
what's up,
going?
dude?
What's up, guys? Sorry, right here, Little League day with my kids, so I'm kind of remotely.
But we're glad to have you tonight. It's exciting. But you're a busy guy too, man. I follow a ton of your stuff. You were at Texas 2K. You were getting ready for the largest year you've ever had with King of the Open Road. It's going to be pretty wild.
It's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, Texas 2K didn't go as we had wanted, but the weather had a large part in that. It rained Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then it sleeted Saturday, so we didn't get a lot of passes. But that's what can you do? You can't do anything about weather. But yeah, we are gearing up to have an absolute just crazy big King of the Open Road in May. I mean, when we announced opening, I believe it was April 1st at 8 a.m. We sold 35 more spots than we did the year before, and 3 days in now, we are sending in about 170 racer spots out of the 250 we're going to take. So
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, we changed some things this year, and that was one of the big deals with me bringing TRC and Javier on board. Was I needed that extra push because they are so big, and their marketing and their reach is just so much larger than mine. And truth be told, Javier is really good at doing a lot of things that I'm not. I'm more of a racer. I just want to get out there, do the cruise, and he's much better at the behind the scenes stuff, the website and the folk page. And, he built us a new website, kingoftheopenroad.com. And, he set up all the folk information, and he's just a big asset to us as a for that King of the Open Road deal.
Well, and the videos he puts out are amazing. If you guys haven't seen it yet, you can find that racing channel and go in there and watch the video from last year's event. I mean, dude, it was great. And it really shows the heart and soul of that event, which is always cool. I intend to attend this year again.
Right.
So I was at both of them last year, but I only came for the racing on the fall one.
And it was cold. My goodness,
dude. Hey, it made for a great day of racing, though. You know what I mean? A lot of fast stuff.
Oh my God, it was brutal. But yeah, I mean, Tina Pierce went 7.2 at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah,
set open road record there. I think she's gonna have some competition this time. I've been obviously my background's with like World Cup finals and TX2K, so we're really trying to tap into those kind of racers to do the drag and drive. Like the Moto and the T1 race development and the Cicero Performance and some of those bigger shops that can offer to their client something those guys have never been involved with. They're typically they have their cars prepped by these shops. They have it brought to the track. The owners will fly in and race them, and then the owners will fly home, and the guys will take the car back to the shop for the next round of upgrades. Well, those guys are looking for the next thing. They're looking for a way they can go out and drive their cars and enjoy it. And what better way than do drag and drives? So we're really working towards that. And a little birdie told me that Nth Moto may be bringing the Kratos Viper, which is the Gen 5 Viper that goes 680s at 220 miles an hour. So if he brings it on the open road, it's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, and that's exciting because I think the level of people and your reach gets to is that next level of racer that we're looking for in these kind of events. Like that's what it's going to take to get more 6-second cars out there and a wider range other than just necessarily maybe not all the twin turbo big block stuff. We're going to see like
RLSs. My wheelhouse where I started it all was I was a roll racer. I mean, I had a twin turbo Viper that made 1500 wheel, and I do the Texas Invitational and the TX2K, and then obviously street stuff. And those guys have progressed in the roll racing. Like T1 had a GTR that just went 237 miles an hour in the roll race, and the roll race was only like 1100 feet. I mean,
Wow.
bananas how fast those roll race cars are getting. And I progressed into drag racing, and I still like to have fun, but those guys are getting to where they can drag race roll race cars now. A
Yep.
lot of R8s and Huracans and all those guys can literally drive to the grocery store like a stock car, run 750 at 195, and
Yep.
put pump gas in it and drive it around. And
that's exactly right.
if we can get a lot of those guys to indulge into the drag and drive culture and the lifestyle, because I think they're going to really be blown away by how much fun it is. Because at the end of the day, man, when you go to these events and you made, I don't know, let's say you get to drive your car 60 seconds for the whole week. I mean, you're only making 7-second passes. It's real expensive, and it kind of gets old. So, I think these guys can go out and cruise a couple hundred miles in one day, or maybe do a sick week or a Rocky Mountain race week or a drag week, and get to do that for a week long. Like, how cool would that be? Those guys built cars for that. Like, it doesn't get more than that. So we're really trying to get a lot of those guys to come out and do KOTOR. We're doing it in Oklahoma in May. We've got Tucson, Arizona in September. And then we've got Texas Motorplex at Ennis in November. And we've already got some other tracks locked in for 24.
Molly Motorsports is the official piston of DragOnDrive.com. Molly's Power Pack piston is the perfect candidate for your drag and drive car. Molly Motorsports competes in drag and drive events and supports our community. Project manager Eric Grillo raced a 10-second stick shift Nova at Hot Rod Drag Week 2022. He's also competed in Rocky Mountain Race Week last year with his C10 truck. Visit mollymotorsports.com for the most recent line of products.
So we're really working hard right now to expand the King of the Open Road brand. And, we're just changing things up. And I'm not going to ruin it, but the prizes and some of the gifts that for the winners this year are going to be really neat. I won't spoil it, but it's going to be really awesome. I want to say it, but I promise myself I wouldn't. But we're going to have some really awesome prizes as well as payouts. So we're really just trying to take the level of the event to the next level. It started off as a super grassroots, super simple deal through cruising Oklahoma. We did a one-day cruise, cruised out to Hinton, raced on the streets, and everybody's like, this is a lot of fun. And then obviously, we did another one and then another one. And now this one in May will be our first partnership with TRC. And we hope it can be, twice as large as it was in November, because truth be told, with the weather as bad as it was in November, we still had a really damn good turnout. Super happy. We had from side-by-sides and old T-buckets. And then, like I saw Richard comment earlier, him and some of his buddies drove all the way from Canada to come down and race.
Yeah.
I think he brought that damn snow with him, though.
He brought the weather with him for sure. And then, Rich changes the trans and the diff in the parking lot to drive back home. And here's what's crazy. He had the trailer available. He could have just jumped into,
I don't think that's vocabulary though.
No, he doesn't understand that stuff. He doesn't know. And, if you have that car and you can drive it and you enjoy driving it, it's comfortable, why not? Why wouldn't you do
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah. And then he, no tires on it, mud flaps, and drove the bitch back to Canada.
That's right. Well, let's talk about your car stuff, because you have a very wide collection of cars. You have a lot of really neat stuff. What would you say is your top 2 or 3 cars that get the most of your time?
Man, that's a hard one. Right now we're working hard on the green Yoda Supra to hopefully have the opportunity to get back on Street Outlaws, because the stuff that just filmed for the 405 show, I was elected a captain. I got to take a group of my friends and imports that I met through Drag and Drive, through King of the Open Road, through World Cup Finals in Texas 2K, and we went on the show, and we did pretty well. One of my teammates it all in a Honda Civic. And what's really cool about that is now Aaron has signed up to come race at King of the Open Road. So he's going to come out and cruise the street car. He built another car that's pretty much a Twinkie to the Civic, but it's in a Prelude chassis, no cage, good, like full street car deal. And he's going to come out, and that car should, realistically go high 7s, low 8s, at a 2.2 or 2.4 liter little force. And, to look at, Murder Nova and Daddy Dave and all those guys, like, they were blown away to see that Honda go as fast as it did, because Chuck's an old school Honda guy. But for us to go on there with some imports and make ripples in the water, it was pretty cool. And so, yeah, that's one car that, takes up a ton of my time. And then we're building another white Supra that is going to be our KOTOR car. I've already ordered the vanity plate for it says KOTOR. And, I've some of the partnerships that I have with the green car, Brian Crowder and Manley and, Precision Turbo and ETS and Nitrous Express, ATF transmission, the same pedigree of parts that we took and we know work on the green car, we're moving into the white car. It's just not going to have a cage. It's not going to have a dry sump or a billet block, but it should still make 12 to 1300 wheel horsepower and probably still run bottom eights at 175 miles an hour with overdrive. So that car, I should literally be able to drive
awesome.
all over the country and make a ton of power and do it, kind of in style. And then I actually just picked up my O2 ACR twin turbo Viper. Had been at a shop for a long time. Not really going to get into that. That was an ugly deal. Finally went and picked it up. Henson Racing Engines, who also competed in KOTOR last year and sponsored, they have the motor. And it's going to be like a 550-inch deal, twin next-gen Precisions, Motec, Gen 5 ACR trainee. That car was the first Viper back in like 2004 to ever go eights. And it was the first Viper to go 200 in the mile. The original owner of it had pretty deep pockets, and he built that car and did some really wild things with it. And then a local buddy of mine named Andy Nelson bought it, and then I got it from him. So it's kind of cool. That car has had a pedigree of racing its entire life. Like the guy bought it shop called ART in Austin, Texas, literally like at 80 miles. At 80 miles, it became a race car. And,
Wow.
I've got Trans Ams and RX-7s and 3000 GTs and Stealths, and we're building a twin turbo Coyote Ford Lightning right now, and an old Bandit Trans Am with aluminum 5.3 turbo. Yeah, I mean, I definitely got some irons in the fire, and that's one thing I'll always say. I'm passionate about all cars, not just imports. I like imports. It's where I started at, but man, I like all cars.
Yeah. And I think that's one of my favorite things about you and the KOTOR event is because really you're centrally located. You had Rob Courtney come all the way from Pennsylvania in the all-wheel drive Civic
Yep.
at the May event last year. I mean, like that event really brings out a ton of different kinds of cars and people. And I think, I preach it all the time, but the regional events, these weekender type events are what is going to bring people into the community. And you take somebody that has, a big turbo Viper, they may not think it can handle the week if they go to drag week or something.
Right.
Or Midwest drags. And then they come out here and they do KOTOR or the circuit or something. They're like, oh, well, that wasn't too bad. The car handled it just fine. I'm going to go try one of the big ones.
Exactly. And they get that bug in their bit, right? Like,
yeah.
I'll never give up Texas 2K. I'll never get up World Cup finals. Those are the two Super Bowls of street car events for me. But you throw all the other events that are out there in the country, I would rather do drag and drives 9 out of 10 times. Like about driving my car, man. I like to get my buddy in the passenger seat, maybe my kiddo here in the near future, or my wife, and hit the open road. And you just never know the curveball of a drag and drive is going to throw you. Last time you guys had me on, I mean, the first time I did a drag and drive was Rocky Mountain Race Week. We took two well-prepped Supras, Gio's 6-second Supra, my 7-second Supra, and we hit the open road. And through day 3, I was tied with Doug Cook in that 750 class, and I had him by a few hundredths, and, we ended up cracking the block. And before that, I hit a family of armadillo or raccoons. And before that, I hit armadillo. Like, it was just MacGyvering fixes on the side of the road. And, that might not be for a lot of the guys, like I was mentioning earlier, like maybe some of the higher end cars. Those guys probably aren't going to be working on their cars on the side of the road. But the deal is, like, drag and drive people in general, we're a different breed. We don't mind working on our cars on the side of the road. To me, it's what makes the experience the experience. If it goes like it should and you drive to every track and you get sleep every night and everything goes as planned, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, like that doesn't happen in this industry. So,
I've always said, like, and Eric and I've talked about it too a bunch, if you have a late model car and it has air conditioning, you should not be able to turn your air conditioning on, and you have to roll the windows down. You know what I mean? Something that let's not make it as easy for those guys as it needs to be sometimes.
The AC compressor off, and then they have to run it.
yeah, all that kind of stuff. Well, we definitely want to talk about some of the KOTOR stuff, and how did you get KOTOR started? You talked about a little bit of it there in the beginning with cruising Oklahoma, but like, I guess really my question is what made you go to that next step? What made you step out of Oklahoma City and do Tucson and the Texas Motorplex?
Well, that was, me and Javier the TRC connection for me goes back to like, oh my goodness, 2011, 12, maybe, like right when him and Keith started TRC. They reached out to me at TX2K, and back then there was a guy named Mullet who was kind of like the big dick guy. He had like Turbo 4 GTs and Lambos, and he had this private meet. And I got them in like under my wing, right? And so since that point, like me and Javier have always been cool. A lot of you guys may see that I do content for them. I'll host a lot of the Street Outlaw videos with Murder Nova or Chuck or Ryan or whoever we're doing these videos with. So in my brain, I'm like, I can fill a race in Oklahoma. I can probably do it in Texas and Kansas, but I don't have a following like I do in Oklahoma and Arkansas or in, Arizona or wherever it may be. And TRC, their fan base is huge. Their videos viral as hell and they're all around the world. So I talked to Javier. I was like, look, I don't want to work in a car dealership my whole life. I am as passionate about race cars as anybody I know. And I want to bring this to more people. I want to bring parts of the country that don't have a drag and drive. I want to bring this stuff to them and experience or expose this kind of racing to other people, because Javier and TRC had never been to a drag and drive until November. He's like, dude, this is the most fun I've ever had in a car. Why aren't we doing more of these? I was like, let's do it. That was kind of, I wouldn't call him a test, but like he came out, seen what it was about. And then from that point forward, we're like, we're doing this. We're just, if we don't do it when we turn 50, we're just going to talk about it. Man, that was a missed opportunity. So we're both, in a financial position in life where we can throw some money at this deal. And so we kind of put our heads together, threw some money at it. And man, I really think people are going to like the new format that we're going to do with the prizes and some of the gifts that we're going to give. And, thing that I do that I honestly don't know if a lot of the other drag and drives do, but in these grab bags, I give out a ton of stuff. Deechworks gave me $15,000 of gift cards to give out this year. So we're going to just randomly put those in the bags because, truth be told, like the guy who wins a class probably doesn't need a $300 gift card to help him get a set of injectors. But the guy that's like sixth place in the 13.0 index class, that $300 to him is going to go a hell of a long ways. So if
and hey, that $300 may put that guy into the 12s at the next event.
Correct. Yep. And that's one thing I always try to remember, like everybody starts somewhere. I was a guy with a 14-second 3000 GT at one point, like we all start somewhere. Like some of these guys, I feel like they get in the sixes or however fast they are, and they kind of forget where they came from. They don't forget what it's like to try to maybe pick up a 1/10 of a second when you're running an index class, or what, a tune and a set of injectors would do for you at some point in your racing career. And so like we did that so more people can get a prize, like Kicker gives us Bullfrog, these badass Bluetooth speakers and, amplifiers. And this year, like Loves, they're kicking a fuel cards. Like there's going to be close to $5,000 in those giveaway bags to those.
How cool.
And it's not just going to be it could be the people that pay to come cruise with us, not even the racers, and another thing we implemented last year was the token. I wanted another way to make it different. A lot of events do pictures or whatever it may be, but we were like, let's do a token. That token will be a memorable keepsake that they'll keep forever. And it's their ticket to race. And if they make the drive, we have a checkpoint set up in town. We scratch their name off the list. That's their token. Don't lose that bastard, because that's your ticket to race. A guy did that last year, and of course, like I helped him figure it out. But yeah, if you're racing KOTOR and you lose that ticket, that is literally your tech card. But we just try to implement new things, and I'm a history buff, so I implement a ton of history in the cruises. We had our checkpoint that last year was at the Chickasaw National Cultural Center and Tishomingo, which was actually the old capital for the Chickasaw Nation. And this year, I won't really give it away, but we're going a completely opposite way of the state with, I guess I'll say this. The checkpoint is a pre-1900s bank that is literally stuck in time. Like Bonnie and Clyde kind of bank where they got robbed. There's still bars on the windows. And so this town is opening up this bank for us. And they're allowing us to put it's a time capsule. This thing hasn't been open since like the 40s. So it's just crazy that we're going to be able to go into this old bank and just see the history, just the raw Oklahoma history around it. And where we're going, like Geronimo, the chief Geronimo is buried close to this. And there's just so much cool history. And to me, doing the drag and drives, that's what it's about, is learning new things about the region that you're driving in. When we go out to Arizona, Tombstone, Arizona is only an hour from Tucson. Like, you better well know that if you're going to go to the Tucson event, we're going to Tombstone. Because, like, being from Oklahoma, I've never been to Tombstone. So I'm just, like, chomping at the bits to go out there and see what Tombstone, Arizona is about. All the, you know, the OK Corral, the Doc Holliday stuff, like, you know, the Wyatt Earp, like, that town has a ton of history. And I'm just a history freak. So I try to implement a lot of that into the King of the Open Road with the token and a lot of those things, just to separate it from all the other Dragon Drives, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with the other Dragon Drives. I'm just trying to put my own spin on it.
Yeah. It's been awesome.
I think you have what, 3 KOTOR events this year?
Yes.
I was just gonna say, how many events do you think you can handle in a year?
We're gonna try to get to. Javier may disagree, but I want 10 events next year.
Wow.
I want to do 8 to 10 events in 24. He's been working hard behind the scenes with some of his track connections. And there's another guy that, you know, has helped him along the way that I've never met personally, but his name is Chris Harris. Chris Harris is got a long history down in Florida. He was a general manager, I believe, at PBR, that's drag strip that got shut down in South Florida. And he does like the national roll racing stuff. He does a lot of bike promotional. The dude knows how to run a racetrack, from prepping to the timing system to just everything about it. So Javier's bringing Chris on board as well to help everything run smooth. Because one thing that can give an event a black eye really quick is if you have one issue, whether it's the gate or a timing system or whatever. And, you know, you get, like last time, for instance, in November, we had 17 states and 2 countries come to KOTOR, which blew my mind. But if those guys don't have a good time or something happens that's out of my control, that I don't know how to fix a timing system. I'm not a track prep guy, but Chris is. Chris can do all those things. You know, even though we're renting these tracks and they have the facility and the personnel to do it, having someone like Chris with 20 years of experience of running drag tracks is so beneficial. So, you know, with him being on board with Javier and I, that's why I'm ambitious enough to think 8 to 10 events next year is doable. You know, we definitely want to do Texas. We may do 2 in Texas. For sure, Oklahoma. We want to do one possibly down in like the Georgia, Alabama, Florida area. We're going to do Arizona. I want to do a Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Washington one. And I think like an Iowa, Indiana, or Michigan one needs to happen, as well as Pennsylvania. So like I've got a lot of notes in my house, and I've got, you know, a bulletin board, and I've got these goals. And that's one thing I've always done in my life is I've set goals. And so far in my life, I've always obtained them. So like I'm a very goal oriented person. So I've got these goals set. I know Javier does, and we're really trying to make the King of the Open Road a nationwide brand, you know, kind of like my buddies Chase and Justin did with Streetcar Takeover. You know, I knew those guys before Streetcar Takeover, and, you know, they went to Texas 2K and kind of got bit by that, you know, style of event for a bug. And, you know, they ran with it. And now look where Streetcar Takeover is. It's the premier, you know, weekend drag racing event in the country. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to make, King of the Open Road. We're not trying to be a sick week. We're not trying to be a Rocky Mountain Race Week or drag week. We want, like you said, to do a regional event that's a 3-day that gets people hooked on this style of racing. So then they can go try their hands at a sick week, race week, drag week, whatever they may be. And, you know, every year we just try to grow this King of the Open Road deal. Do I think, you know, more than 10? I don't know. That's pretty ambitious. You know, one a month would be pretty rough. But I think it's very doable. And, man, I'm going to do what I can and use my resources to make sure more people can enjoy this style of racing.
Yeah, we appreciate that for sure. It would be crazy to think that there's going to be 30-something events next year. Bring it on. We thought we'd have had 27 this year. Who knows?
Yeah, the explosion of the drag and drive culture is just crazy. You know, 2019 is when I did Rocky Mountain Race Week. There wasn't that, you know, then you start doing this drag and drive addiction thing, and it's grown so much for you, and you're such an advocate, and you push for this style of racing, which is awesome. Thank you for that. You know, without people like you, promoters like me and other guys, you help us so much because you introduce so many more people, and you give us a spot that we can go and express our views on our events, and the fans can listen to them and then hopefully get pumped up for our events. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, dude. Heck yeah, man. All the time. Well, I know everybody's that has seen your stuff in the past. We want to know about the Street Outlaw thing. I mean, I think that's probably a good question, isn't it, Eric?
Right. Yeah.
How was that experience? You know, what are some things you took away from it that that'll make it better on the next one?
For those that don't really know me, I've been around that stuff since before the TV show. You know, I'm not a guy that was chasing clout or chasing the fame of the show. I had a genuine interest in doing that. You know, I was a lot younger, 2008 or 9. I didn't have a fast car, but Chief and Sean and Dave and all those guys, they allowed me to run security for them. And, you know, we talked about this on the show, but it didn't make TV, which is fine. But, you know, I paid my dues per se. I earned my stripes with those guys, keeping them in handcuffs, you know, 10, 20 times a year. So, you know, I got to know those guys, kind of earned their respect. And of course, they all kind of razzed me for having a 3000 GT, not really their cup of tea. And, you know, I always was interested in trying to do it. And then, you know, 2011 rolled around, TV show happens. And at the beginning of it, Chief told me, look, we need, you know, new blood, new cars, whatever. Go build your Supra and I'll give you a shot at the list. I was like, okay,
Nice.
cool. Well, obviously I didn't have, you know, the income I do now or the relationships I do now. So it took me about 2 years to build the car to run sevens. You know, it still took a ton of money. It literally took every cent I had to get that car to that level. Well, by the time that happened, it was 2014 or 15, the cars went from running 480 to 520 on the street to 14s, you know. The show had exploded and, you know, everybody's running 481Xs. I mean, things got out of control. So I had built this car and Chief told me, he's like, hey, you can have a shot at the list. We'll do a round robin. But man, I didn't want to go on TV and make a fool of myself. And so like, I knew like I had nothing for those guys. My car went at the time 480s on a track, but doing that on a small tire on the street, I mean, that's a whole nother ball game. So I just stayed in my lane. You know, we took the car, we raced World Cup, and, you know, we got faster. Then 2019, I won Outlaw Armageddon in the car, you know, a 91 car domestic field, you know, the biggest no prep in the world. And we took a little 180 cubic inch import and we won it. And that was a pretty big deal. And we realized that obviously a track doing no prep is different than the street, but we were going high fours, low fives on a no prep surface in a 6-cylinder. So I was like, man, you know, it'd be really cool if we got a shot to do street outlaws again, but it was just unrelatable to me. You know, some guys can maybe relate to that, but 4,000 horsepower pro mods in the street, I ain't got nothing for that. I can't relate to that. And so it kind of, to me, the show had evolved, obviously, like they wanted to be faster, but it got to the point where the average Joe Blow public, in my opinion, wasn't watching it as much. The ratings had dropped and it just kind of got stagnant. It was the same 10 guys racing the same races. So, you know, the thing happened with Chief. He got whatever happened. I'm not going to touch base on that. So he's off the show. Well, Sean Murder Nova became the guy. And so January of last year, Sean and I are pretty tight. He called me. He's like, look, I'm the race master now. We're going back to our roots. We're going back to where this all started. Real deal metal glass street cars you have to drive to the road. No big tires, 28-10-5. The rules were very, very loose. Basically, it was no slick if it's all-wheel drive. You have to have like a drag radial, but really it wasn't any drag radial. It was like a Mickey Thompson SS drag radial. That was like one of the rules. They wanted the exhaust to be exiting out of the back. A few of the cars got away with it, but it was the first season, right? They wanted full interior, no Lexan, no one-piece front ends, no altered suspension, no you know, they wanted, we all know what a real street car is, right? Like if you have a car that's pretty badass and it runs, let's say 650s in the quarter mile and it can do a drag and drive, it's probably still not I mean, people know what a street car is. I mean, you could argue that to I'm blue in the face. I'm not going to go down that path, but that was the deal. They wanted real deal street cars, carpet, interior, real deal, power windows if it came equipped, blah, blah, blah. Well, they reached out to me and they're like, look, we know you're going to bring not 10 Fox bodies. You're going to bring some cool stuff. So I did. You know, I brought Miles Kerr with the world's fastest Integra. Aaron Lopez, one of the fastest all-wheel drive Civics in the world. We brought my Supra. We brought my buddy Sean and Betty with the Subaru STI. I brought Felicia, which is a drag and drive person that I met on drag and drive. Very well, the four-door rocket. Justin McMurtry with the Durango. You know, Stacey Barnett from out
Ford Durango, not
a. Or yeah. We brought Stacey Barnett with, unfortunately, a Fox body, but he had a GTR, but it was a little too race. It had a Lexan and gutted interior. And then I brought my buddy Adam Pettis from Florida with a very awesome 240Z car with a small block Ford, kind of weird, small tire car, extremely fast on the track. But we had our work cut out for us. We took a bunch of track cars to try to go street racing, and like those guys that we were racing do this for a living, you know.
Yeah.
And so we were a little outgunned on that deal, but we got the opportunity, and you know, I've got asked this question 100 times since the episode aired. Why didn't I race in Race Wars? Here's why. One of the rules was you could not have a funny car cage. No 25-2, no 25-3 stuff. Like Justin McMurtry cut his cage out. Chuck Seitzinger cut his cage out.
Wow.
Aaron Lopez cut his cage out. A lot of guys cut the halo out of their cage to make it a 10-point, basically. And that was the rule. Well, I had a race coming up. I had World Cup finals coming up, but my chassis shop is in Florida, which is where Real Street is. ProFab does all my work. I told Sean, I was like, look, my car is really, really nice. I was like, I'm not cutting my cage out. And he's like, well, you're going to have to find another car to race. I'm like, man, I have it, but it ain't going to be fast. So him and I kind of talked a little bit. He talked to the rest of the Street Outlaw guys, and we kind of came to agreement. Look, you can race your car on your episode, and then we'll see where it goes from there. And we did, and we had a really good episode. And then we raced on a Wednesday night. The following Saturday, so 10 days away, was Race Wars. So Mike, rest in peace, he actually passed away. He was the producer. He calls me, and he's like, look, you're in, and you get to pick one teammate. So for Race Wars. And I'm like, okay, I pick Aaron Lopez. No brainer. And I'm like, we're going to race. And so he's like, okay, cool. So then Sean and Ryan called me, and they're like, hey, it's you in the Civic? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, cool. Just want to make sure. 3 hours later, they call me back. We picked up. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, we forgot about your funny car cage. You can't race. I was like, what? I was like, at this point, I was like, so into it and pot committed to this experience. I was like, I'll cut the bastard out. I was like, I'll cut it. They're like, we can't, because like it was part of the storyline and like people seen it. And I'm like, oh my God, is this real life? Is this happening to me? And so I didn't go off of favorites. I didn't go off anything. I went off my teammate who had the best record, which was Felicia. She went 2-0, and Aaron went 2-0 as well. So I put Felicia in my spot, and the rest was history. And, that whole experience was amazing. And, I took away a lot from it. Like, to me, us winning it was really cool. Like, Aaron Lopez killed it. He was just unbelievable wheelman the whole time, just cutting great lights. But we earned the respect, I think, of a lot of people bringing imports to a street race full of old school domestic cars. Like, Doc, like, I love Doc. Like, a lot of people don't like Doc. I love Doc. But he came up to me and was like, you made me respect imports. Would I go buy a Honda or a Toyota? No, but I to respect them. He's like, I never thought those cars were that fast. Dominator, same way. Sean went to Brazil with Daddy Dave a couple years ago and drove some Opalas down there. They were fast as hell, like mid 7 seconds. Like they knew imports could be fast. Like Lutz actually went to World Cup finals this year and raced the quarter mile stuff out there and got beat by a 2JZ car. Like, he knew those cars could be fast. And so, like, some of the guys knew they could be fast, but some of the other guys, they're hardcore domestic American muscle. I talked on another podcast for the Street Outlaw guy the other day about this, but the more I've thought about this, I don't think it's I hate imports. I think it's I grew up in the 70s and 80s. It's my generation of hot rods. Toyotas and Hondas weren't fast then. They were 40 miles per gallon Econo boxes.
Yep.
I just don't understand how that four-cylinder can make 1,500 horsepower. And the more I think about it, it really is. It's a generational thing. The guys that are 20, 30 like myself, I say that, I'm 38 now, but we grew up with the Fast and the Furious era. We had Paul Walker. Like, I'll be honest, that's what got me into cars. I wasn't a car guy. I was a golfer. And my dad bought me a 3000 GT, and the rest was history. Like,
it was over after that,
He could have bought me a Camaro or a Mustang, and I would have been like everybody else in Oklahoma, right? But he didn't. He bought me a 3000 GT. We put purple lights on it, put a fart can on it. It ran 15s, and I raced everything. And it's just what it was for me. And like I said, a lot of guys that grew up, graduated high school from like 99 to probably 2010, that was our generation. We were import people. Yeah. And as time goes on, no manufacturer's really making many cool fast cars because of the EPA BS. But I think that we're experiencing a import boom right now. All those JDM cars are fetching just astronomical money. Supers are bringing 300,000-400,000, and then Texas for 150 grand. RX-7s are all selling between 100 and 150 grand for nice ones. All those cars are doing what muscle cars did 20 years ago. It's because guys like me, or in this age demographic, are in a position in life, hopefully, where you're making a little more money and you want the car from high school that you never could have. I mean, I do. That's why I have so many cars. Find stuff that I wanted from high school. And so, to get back on topic about the Street Outlaw deal and the imports, like, I think that's what it is. They don't dislike us. They just don't get it. That's not what they grew up with. They grew up with Cavelles, Camaros, and Mustangs, and Malibus, and Monzas, and that was their era of cars. And this is my era of cars. Dude, I respect all cars. I love them all. But I don't know. The Street Outlaw deal was awesome, and there's no official word if season 2 is going to happen. I keep hearing rumors July because they allowed a 45-day gap in the No Prep King schedule, kind of like they did last year. But I was talking to one of the guys the other day, and I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's a rumor or true, but Warner Brothers bought Discovery Channel. So that changes things as far as like what shows are going to get bought, what they're going to film, and all that. Because we all know, like, they just got back from Australia, and we all know that PK is their bread and butter. That is where they can go and show the biggest, fastest cars. The fans can come and watch. They can sell tickets, and it's Street Outlaws bread and butter. And so, like, I hope we get a chance to do the streetcar deal. It's not a guarantee that me or my team will be invited. They may go pick another 10 completely random people, even though the Honda won it, last year, which would be okay. It's not our TV show. But at the end of the day, like, there's a few people that thought some of the cars on my team were a little too race. Like Aaron's, Civic that won. They didn't like all the stickers down it. They didn't like a lot of the different things about it, but they've met the rules. And I'm sure the rules here, if it happens again, are going to be much more strict to keep cars like his out, or maybe keep cars like my Super out. But at the end of the day, every racer is going to bend the rules in that gray area to try to do what we do. And that's what we did. Like, we took cars that fit the rules, and they agreed to let us race, and we grabbed a lane, and, every import won, except for mine. Went red against Farm Truck, but every import got a win, which to me was a win in itself, because you don't get a bigger stage than Street Outlaws to express or race your car on. Like, there's not a bigger stage, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree, man. Well, I want to say thank you for coming on tonight. I really do appreciate it. And obviously I'm going to be around your area throughout the year. So maybe I would love to have a sit down chat, bring some 2 mics, and dude, let's talk. Your new garage at your house is just gangster, man. It's so nice.
A lot of times put into that. We're about to pour another 50 yards of concrete on the outside of it to like clean it up. We're actually expanding it, and I'm getting 4-post lifts because of space. But yeah, like 1320 is coming down to do their new garage tour series on me in May 10th. So yeah, man, anytime, like, come by, chat. We'll go drive some of the cars around or whatever. Yeah. And for those of you guys listening, we do have a website now, kingoftheopenroad.com. So if you have any KOTOR information, if you have questions or maybe about signing up or some of the class rules, kingoftheopenroad.com has all of your information.
Yep. And then where can people follow you specifically? Because they can also find King of the Open Road on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff.
King of the Open Road on Facebook. My personal stuff is JRod_OKC on Instagram, and then JRod's Garage on Facebook. We do a lot of car content, so if you guys like car stuff, come check it out.
Yeah, and it's really fun. It's a great channel to follow for sure. All right, dude. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me on. Thank you guys so much.
Man. Yep. Have a good one.
You too, brother. Thank you.
What a fun guy, man. I'm going to tell you, he's one of my favorite people within the whole community. He really does an amazing job explaining stuff. He is a great promoter. I mean, like you said, just with the swag packs and all that kind of stuff that goes into each event and everything from there. It's really amazing.
Then we'll be back for another episode next Wednesday, and then we will be at the circuit.
Yeah, I'm excited. Wednesday night is Engine Builder Magazine editor Greg Jones. So that's going to be kind of cool to hear his thoughts, because he's been there a long time. So it'll be interesting to hear what he thinks about the drag and drive movement and what that will mean for engine building and, what people are looking for, what changes, some of the stuff we've talked about in the past with other manufacturers, Andy Starr and John at Delta PAG were both great interviews because they gave us an opportunity to listen to, what it takes for longevity, not just your fastest pass, but longevity as well. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. We will see you very, very soon.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
See ya. Bye.